So now let's turn to look at some of the features of a remote learning platform and some of the things that can be done. And let's start by looking at accessibility, by which I mean ease of access to the learning platform itself by teachers and pupils. Now, pupils' access to technology has been an important factor because it affects the extent to which they can effectively learn at home. And unfortunately, limited access to technology still remains a significant barrier for many disadvantaged children. A key benefit of cloud-based platforms is that they can be accessed via a web browser on most type of device. So you can access the learning platform on a Windows computer or laptop, an iPad, a smartphone, a tablet, or a Chromebook, as long as they have an internet connection. And this means that the provision of devices and the internet for remote learning purposes can be targeted at those pupils most in need, as other pupils may already have access to a home device or smartphone. And all pupils need to access a learning platform is a device with a web browser and an internet connection. So let's start by looking at how easy it is to access a learning platform via the internet and run some cloud apps. I'm now going to show you how quick and easy it is to sign into Anywhere, Anytime Learning with Google for education. But I could just as easily have demonstrated this with the Microsoft 365 learning platform.
Okay, let's have a look at how easy it is to sign into G Suite via a web browser. First thing I need to do is start my web browser. I'm going to be using Chrome, but I could be using Safari, Firefox, Internet Explorer Edge. And then once I start my web browser, I'm going to go to google.com, which is the normal address you go to use the Google search engine. But you'll notice in the top right-hand corner, there's a sign in button, and that allows me to sign into my G Suite account. And it will take me into a sign-in page, and it will ask me for my user account name, and I'm signing in with the test teacher account, and the bit after the @ symbol denotes the name of the organization. So I've got a scomus.org tenancy or domain. And then the next thing it asks me to do is to prove that I am who I say I am by typing in the password. So always a very good idea that you have a very secure password, because you can access this account from any internet enabled device. You can enable things such as two-factor authentication or Google Authenticator, where it actually pops up on your mobile phone with an authentication code. But obviously, due to safeguarding, that isn't always possible to have a mobile phone in school. Now, once I've signed in, we'll notice that I have a waffle with the 9 dots, which tells me I've actually signed in to Google Apps. And if I click on that grid, I can see a menu with Google Apps that are available. And if I click on account, you can see that I am actually signed in with this test teacher account. If I click on the waffle again, I can scroll up and down, and these are the apps that have been allocated to my account, and I can run off the cloud within a web browser. So let's click on a couple of these. Let's click on Google Docs, which is Google's word processor. And I'm just going to choose a blank document. And you can see it looks fairly similar to something like Microsoft Word. And if I go back to my Google account and in another tab, I could start up Sheets. And then I'm also going to start up Slides. And then I'm also going to start up Google Drive. And you'll notice that all of these apps appear in a separate tab in my web browser. And if we have a look at these, let me just fire them up and start blank documents. We can see that Google Docs is an online word processor. Google Drive is your online storage space, rather like your school's network drive. Google Sheets is basically a spreadsheet, so that's rather like Excel. And then Google Slides is very similar to PowerPoint, it's presentation software. And I can just close those tabs down. And then when I want to come out of the account, it's very important that I click on my avatar, and I click on sign out. And that means anyone else who's used the machine after me can't suddenly nip in and access my account.
Okay, so that's a quick demo showing how you can access online storage and run Office type apps via the cloud. Both Microsoft and Google have specific classroom apps which make it easy to organize work for students. And these are Microsoft Teams and Google Classroom. And both of these learning platform apps allow pupils to work individually as well as collaborate with classmates and their teachers. And in some of our other virtual event sessions, I will demonstrate how easy it is for a teacher to set and mark assignments online. And these sessions will showcase how to create a class, add students, assign and grade work, as well as give feedback to pupils. I'll be running a session that looks at Google Classroom and Google Apps in more depth, as well as another session on using Microsoft Teams and Microsoft 365 for education. But for today's session, I just want to give you an overview of what can be achieved and explain collaboration and how teachers can view students working on documents in real time without having to use webcams or video conferencing. Now, the ability to easily and securely share documents with others forms the fundamental backbone of a good learning platform, as this allows teachers and students to collaborate with one another. I'm now going to show you how easy it is to share a document with others and why you might want to do this. So I will now demonstrate how staff and students can collaborate on a document together and how you can tell what contents others have contributed. Again, I'm going to demo this in Google for Education, but it's a very similar process in Microsoft 365.
Okay, so what I wanted to show you next is why it's a really powerful benefit of G Suite for Education to be able to share and collaborate on documents with others in real time. And for the purpose of this exercise, I've logged into two browser windows. The one on the left is signed in as a teacher, and the one on the right is signed in as a student. And what I'm basically going to do is I'm going to, in Google Drive, I'm going to create a blank Google document, in this case a word processing document, and it will load up in a separate tab with all the editing tools. And again, this is a great feature because I don't need the word processing software installed on the machine that I'm using. It's just running off the cloud. At the moment, it's called it Untitled Document. And if I go to Google Drive, you'll see that it's automatically saved. So that's another great feature of G Suite. You don't have to save as you go along. Everything is recorded, every single edit. And it's great for students because, as I say, they don't have to remember to go file and save as before they sign out. So I'm just going to call this consultation documents. And let's say that this is a consultation document that I want to send out to all students in the school. And I'm just going to insert, I don't know, a little table, and let's just ask a couple of questions. Let's ask 3 questions. So I want the person's name. I want to ask them if they want a school uniform, yes or no, and the reason. So this could be a document I'm sharing with students, but I could make this a staff policy document and share it with other members of school staff. And I don't have to share direct from Google Drive. I'm actually going to give it a bit more of a descriptive name. And if I click in the Untitled, it will suggest a name that I can overtype. I'm happy to call it consultation document. And you can see in Google Drive, it will change the file name. And rather than sharing from Google Drive, I'm going to share from Google Docs. Now, I could type in a whole list of staff, a distribution group, but in this particular case, I am just going to share with this individual student, just so you get a view of what happens. And where is it? Test student. And I'm going to make them an editor, and I'm not going to email them. So I'm going to share that. Now, if we go over to the right-hand window and I click on Shared with Me, I can see that the students now got access to that consultation document and they can open it. So both the teacher and the student are working on this document at the same time. And if the student goes to complete the document, they can type their name, they can type their answers, and I don't know, what should I put, like being roughly. There we go. And what you'll notice is on the left hand side, the teacher can see who is typing at any one time. They can see the avatars or a list of everyone who's accessing that document, and everyone is color coded so that when they type, so I could actually, let's pretend as a teacher I want to put the answer to this, yes, and I can say the teacher wants this because students look smart. So what you can see here is that you could work on this document with a large number of people all at the same time, and it's great. It's far better than sending a document out by email, everyone editing it and then sending it back. You can have one live document which the owner stores in their Google Drive, they share it out with others, and you can collaborate in real time. Now at the end, if I don't want to share this anymore, I can just revoke the permissions from people who I don't want to be able to work on the document, and then that document will disappear from there, shared with me, and they can't access it anymore. But if I want to see who has worked on the document, I can go in to see the version history, and then you can see it color codes it with all the edits from the document. So this is great for working with students, because even if they type something silly and then delete it, nothing is ever lost, everything is recorded. And as I say, you can use this with students, but you might want to collaborate on lesson plans with other members of staff, and it's a really useful feature to be able to work on a live document all at the same time.
So today's learning platforms are purpose-built to give a similar level of student-teacher interaction uh, as compared to traditional teaching within the classroom environment. And I've listed some of the key benefits to teachers on the screen. The good news is that remote learning platforms of today have greatly evolved since the virtual learning environments of the past. And with VLEs, it often took longer for the teacher to create the resources than the students actually spent working on them. But today's learning platforms are far less clunky and more slick and intuitive to use. Lessons and resources can now be created and shared in a matter of minutes, which will keep students fully engaged on task for hours. Now, Google Classroom, which is part of Google for Education, is a really intuitive tool which helps teachers easily create, grade and collect assignments and provides rich feedback to students using built-in grading tools and wizards. And the next demo shows how quick and easy it is for a teacher to create a class and for students to join.
So I hope you will agree that being able to collaborate with others on documents is a really powerful feature of G Suite for Education, and it's really the whole essence of an online learning platform. But it would be a bit clunky to share documents with students in your class via Google Drive. So there is a slicker way to do it, and this is using the Google Classroom app, which is kind of like the teacher's mission control for organising student work and communicating with students in their class. And what I've done is I've signed in with a teacher account on the left hand side and a student account on the right hand side. And as a teacher, I'm going to go into Google Classroom, so I can click on the waffle and click on the classroom icon. Now, normally in a school, you'd find that the classrooms are pre-populated using information in your school's MIS system. So normally, as part of your G Suite commissioning, all the classes will be set up, ready for you to use, and the teacher and student membership will already be factored in. But let's pretend I'm running an extension class for an extract of students from multiple classes, and I just want to create a simple class on the fly. So as a teacher, I've got the ability to create a class. I have to give it a name. I'm just going to call it example class. And I'm not going to bother filling in the other sections. The first time you create a class as a teacher, it will take about 20 or 30 seconds because it creates the whole structure in the back end using a predefined template, which saves you a lot of work as a teacher. It's not like the VLEs of old where you had to do a lot of manual setting up. And you can now see I've got my example class, and there's various options I've got. I've got the stream, which is a communication channel. I've got classwork where I can set assignments for the students. I've got the people where it shows me who are members of my class, and at the moment the teacher is the only owner and I've got no students. And then I've got marks because I can actually store all my marks and feedback into a gradebook. But the first thing I'm going to do is actually add a student, because it wouldn't really be a class without a student. And I'm just going to add in my one test student and invite them in. Now, the student can also go to Google Classroom, so they can sign in and click on the Classroom app. You can also access this because every Google app has its own address. So if I went classroom.google.com, that would take me straight into the Classroom app. And if I'm signed in, it will show me which classes I have access to. And I can see as a student, I've got the ability to actually join this example class. And in most situations, the students, it will be set up so students can't actually decline joining the class. They'll be forced to enroll into it. And we can actually see now that both the teacher and the student can share the same class. So that's how easy it is to create a class and add people to be able to access the class.
But it's not all about setting students' work, which has to be completed in a spreadsheet or a word processing document and then returned for marking and feedback. It's as quick and easy to create digital resources which are visual in nature and which replicate traditional classroom resources. And one of the benefits is once a digital resource has been created, it can be instantly assigned to students across multiple classes, and the resource can be easily shared with colleagues. And the screen illustrates a Tarsier jigsaw maths puzzle created by a teacher in the Google Drawing app. And an image from the internet was inserted as a background. And using the drawing tools, a hexagon was drawn and cloned. Numbers were then typed into text boxes, and the shape was grouped so that each hexagon could be moved independently around the screen as a movable object. And for someone who's used Google Drawing app a couple of times, this actually took about 5 minutes to create. And the master resource could then be assigned to all students in the class, which only takes a matter of seconds. And the students can receive a notification with optional instructions from the teacher on guidance on how they complete the task. But once assigned to pupils, the teacher can open each of the pupil copies in real time, even whilst the pupils are actively working on them. And the teacher can actually see the document changing in real time as the pupil moves and spins the hexagons around. And the teacher can message the student to give instant feedback in real time. Shared class boards or Jamboards are also a very quick and easy way of getting a class to think about a topic. And this can be used as a quick lesson starter to get pupils' brains in gear. Again, the teacher can push out a blank class board and the students can all collaborate in real time as a group using the class board toolbar. For example, they can add sticky notes or add images and drag and pin objects around the board. Everyone in the virtual class can see the objects being moved across the screen and new content added in real time. And using classroom tools, the teacher can also speak with the class whilst this is being done, and the students can also interact back or message back using chat feature. Logic sorting puzzles can also be quickly created in drawing apps and shared with students. Again, the students can move the tiles around and the teacher can view in real time and provide feedback. Teachers can also mark each piece of work with scores automatically being recorded by the system in a classroom grading book. And these grades can easily be analysed to check class understanding. And at the bottom of the screen, I've got an example of Google Sites. And this is a tool that can be used for project work, either simple student projects or class portfolios, which can be created and built with preset design wizards that are built into the learning platforms. And this allowed students to collaborate on project-based learning as a class or in small groups, as well as work independently. And these features are really useful because this collaboration allows remote learners to keep engaged even if they are working on projects at different times from other students. Now, if you loathe marking, then a self-marking quiz or form can be a great way of reducing workload, and it beats carrying exercise books home at the end of the day. And the upfront time to create the quiz is offset by the automated marking and grading. And these quizzes can be amended and tweaked for use with future classes and repurposed. They can also be shared with others. So, for example, a school office could create a parental survey form and share it via an email link with parents. Parents can then complete and see their own answers, but only the form owner would see everyone's responses. And again, the answers can be analysed and displayed visually as graphs and charts, which is really useful for analysing results. Now, presenting doesn't have to mean use of teacher webcam and video conferencing, although seeing a teacher's face on the screen from time to time will help learners feel engaged and foster good student-teacher rapport. Teachers can also present classroom slides to students, and if the slides include video and audio, students at home can also see and hear this. And this means that students at home can follow lesson content in real time, ensuring they don't get left behind. And the sessions can be recorded by the teacher and saved to cloud storage for pupils to access and learn asynchronously in their own time, or for pupils who want to re-review. And it's important that students at home have a similar experience to any face-to-face students in the classroom. And this facilitates equity between students working in school and those working remotely. Okay, so we should be about 2/3 of the way through the session now. I hope you found some of the previous tools and techniques useful, and it's given you some ideas on how a learning platform can be used to make learning interactive, engaging, and accessible. As previously mentioned, other virtual events will cover the Microsoft and Google Classroom tools in more depth. And I also promised to outline the DfE funded scheme for digital education platforms, as this funding can be used by schools for the commissioning of a learning platform. And SCOMUS have helped many schools over recent years with implementing a learning platform. So by all means, please contact us for further information. But it's important to understand what schools get initially funded for under the DfE scheme. And the DfE scheme funds eligible schools for their initial setup to a set of baseline configuration standards. And this baseline configuration standard gives schools a minimum set of cloud tools to enable them to deliver distance learning over the internet via a web browser. And it should be noted that any services or work beyond the scope of the DfE baseline configuration wouldn't qualify for funding under the scheme. So if you ask a contractor to perform additional work, then this additional work is chargeable to the school. However, many schools are using the DfE funding to offset their initial cloud setup costs, and subsequently many schools are further building on their cloud foundations by fully integrating cloud technology and the use of cloud devices such as Chromebooks as part of their overall development roadmap. Now, under the DfE scheme, schools get access to a set of core tools and functionality which allow them to deliver remote teaching and learning. This includes the initial registration and creation of the cloud platform and cloud space, as well as the creation of online classroom structures using information taken from the school's MIS system. Initial user accounts and logons are also created for staff and students, again, based on information stored within the school's MIS. As I say, the DfE scheme allows schools to have a learning platform which is accessible by staff and students using a web browser via an internet connection. And the initial implementation includes the core set of online apps, classroom tools, and online storage to allow schools to collaborate and communicate securely with others. Now, although they're core tools, they can be used to great effect for the purposes of remote teaching and learning, as well as supporting students remotely. And as we previously mentioned, all schools are expected to ensure that any pupils educated at home for some of the time are given the support they need to master the curriculum and make good progress. And an element of initial staff training in the use of remote teaching and learning platforms is also included as part of the DFE funded scheme. And it's vital that schools have an implementation plan in place when rolling out a learning platform to maximise the impact. Schools can further build on their cloud foundations by managing their devices from an admin control panel, which is hosted on the cloud. And this allows some schools to go serverless. And school-owned devices can be managed and controlled over the internet, which is ideal if the school is lending school devices such as tablets or Chromebooks to students for use at their own home. So we're nearing the end of this presentation, and I'd like to take this opportunity to explain a little more about SCOMIS for those who are new to us. As well as providing first-class MIS support and hosting, SCOMIS also offer a wide range of technical and training services. SCOMIS have many years' experience supporting schools and IT in education, and as an agnostic service provider, we work with a wide range of partners who form part of the DFE programme. And as such, we're well placed to advise you on how to best utilise the DFE funding available in the short term with a view to building on your cloud foundations in the future. And we offer a whole wide range of technical support services which can help schools. For example, infrastructure and audit health checks that ensure your school premises are cloud ready, as well as offering installation and commissioning services. We're also able to assist customers with the integration of learning platforms with MIS systems, which vastly reduce the burden to schools of maintaining and administering their own learning platform. And we also offer cloud backup systems. And it should be noted that the DFE scheme doesn't include a backup solution for cloud data. And our backup solution allows schools to securely protect their cloud data in case of ransomware or accidental deletion. By default, both Microsoft and Google Learning platforms do not come with a backup solution. We also provide configuration services to streamline access to cloud services from a variety of devices, and we often refer to this as single sign-on or SSO, and this reduces the complexity as it allows users to access multiple services using one username and password. And SCOMIS can also help schools reduce costs when it comes to replacing physical servers by managing devices from the cloud. We can also advise schools and trusts with their development plans, roadmaps, and infrastructure audits, as well as provide training in the use of cloud services for teacher or technical training sessions. And we can assist with procurement, setup, and management of cloud-ready devices, as well as offer responsive and ongoing support for the maintenance of a school's cloud platform. Handing the responsibility for IT services to SCOMIS allows school staff to focus on education, and our remote support contracts are ideal for schools that have no in-house technical support team, but some schools also use us and SCOMIS support as an escalation point to further support any school's existing IT team. We will be emailing everyone on today's session a link to this video together with a feedback form. And if you are interested in finding out any more about any of our services, you will be able to register interest on the feedback form. Alternatively, if you're already a SCOMIS customer, then you can speak with your school's account manager or log a call with SCOMIS Service Desk. As previously mentioned today on a few occasions, today's session forms part of a series of virtual events which SCOMIS are running this term, and I'll be presenting on later sessions that have a deeper dive on the classroom tools for Microsoft 365, as well as Google for Education. But for those particularly interested in Google for Education, SCOMIS have partnered with GTech to host a series of informative, fun, and practical hands-on training sessions on all things Google. And these free of charge training sessions are hands-on and interactive in nature, and everyone who books onto a session will be given temporary access to a Google for Education Google Classroom demo site. And the feedback we've had from schools who've already attended these GTech-led sessions has been extremely positive. So if you're considering adopting Google for Education, or if you're already using Google, I would highly recommend these sessions as they will be of huge benefit to you and your school. Once again, you can view the whole list of virtual events on the SCOMIS website, www.scomis.org. Okay, we're now at the Q&A section. If anyone has any questions, then please type them into the chat. Okay, so I think our time is up. I think we're now drawn to the end of the session. I just want to remind everyone who signed up today that we will be emailing out a link to a copy of a video together with a feedback form. I'd be grateful if you could spend a couple of minutes completing the feedback form, as this helps when planning future sessions. I hope this session today has proved useful, and by all means, please have a look at the SCOMIS website, www.scomis.org, for further information about SCOMIS and for a list of the remaining virtual sessions in the series. I thank you for your time attending the session today. And once again, I'd like to thank you and say goodbye for now. Thanks very much. Goodbye.